Good afternoon. The House Agricultural and Natural Resources Subcommittee for February 18th, 2026 is called to order. Members, please sign in if you have not, and we will ask the clerk to please take the roll. And let me say that I did get a message from Representative Alexander asking to be excused. She wasn't going to be here today. Okay. Clerk, please take the roll for us. Hold on just a second, Clerk. Chairman Grills is. There we go.
It is closed, Mr. Chairman. I can mark him in.
And please mark Mr. Vital here as well.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, you have 6 members present. You have a quorum.
Okay. Thank you for that, and I apologize for jumping the gun there. Forgive me for that. Before we begin with business, are there any personal orders or announcements? Okay. I do want to just remind everyone with the change in our meeting time that our practice will be to begin the meeting 5 minutes after the business and utilities ends. In addition, House Bill 1746 is taken off notice, and House Bill 2392 will be rolled for 2 weeks. Now we'll move to the items on our agenda. House Bill 1155 by Representative Lynn. Motion.
Second.
Okay. All right. Representative Lynn, you are recognized. We do have a motion. And there's an amendment, correct?
Let me look, Mr. Chairman. Yes, it affects the enactment date. It changes it. The amendment is 012954.
That is correct. We need a motion and a second on the amendment.
Second.
Okay, without objection, then the amendment will be on the bill. If there's no objections, we'll go ahead and put the amendment on the bill. All those in favor, say aye. All opposed, say no. The ayes have it. The amendment goes on the bill. The bill is properly before us. Representative Lynn, please explain your bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I also want to note that I have a Dr. Denise Sibley here to testify after my remarks, if you would be so kind. Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, House Bill 1155 is about protecting Tennessee consumers, preserving transparency in our food system, and ensuring that our agricultural economy remains strong and trustworthy. President Trump and Secretary Kennedy are working hard to overturn more than 100 years of ultra-processed food consumption in the United States because industrial ultra-processed food have become a dominant part of the American diet, and a growing body of research links these products to a broad range of serious health conditions, including heart disease, stroke, obesity, diabetes, several forms of cancer, mental health disorders, chronic inflammation, and increased all-cause mortality. As a result, the United States now experiences some of the highest rates of chronic illness in the entire world. House Bill 1155 reflects a careful and responsible approach to the newest addition to the ultra-processed food landscape, industrial cell-cultured meat. It is essential that we as policymakers take a slow approach so the potential long-term health effects can be evaluated, transparency issues can be resolved, consumer understanding can be gained, and we fully understand the impacts on our existing agricultural systems. HB 1155 doesn't ban innovation. Instead, it ensures Tennessee consumers are protected. Tennesseans deserve to know exactly what they're buying and eating. Consumers reasonably expect that meat, poultry, and seafood refers to food that comes from an animal, not a bioreactor. Cell-cultured products are new, unfamiliar, and often marked in ways that blur the line between traditional agriculture and laboratory manufacturing. cell culture foods are still in the early stages of development. There is limited long-term data on their health impacts, the sterility of production environments, and the safety of the growth media used to cultivate these products. House Bill 1155 is cautious. It's a consumer-first approach, and it ensures that Tennessee does not become a testing ground for products whose regulatory framework is still not finalized by the federal government as of today. Traditional agriculture is subject to extensive inspection, animal health rules, and environmental oversight. By contrast, lab-grown products rely on proprietary biotechnology processes that are not yet fully transparent to the public. Our livestock, poultry, and traditional farming sectors are the backbone of rural Tennessee. In fact, our state seal says agriculture on it, doesn't it? Agriculture in Tennessee supports thousands of jobs, local businesses, and multi-generational family farms. House Bill 1155 helps prevent market disruption from products that do not rely on Tennessee land, Tennessee farmers, or Tennessee labor. It ensures that emerging synthetic alternatives do not undercut the producers who sustain our communities and our economy. The bill protects consumers and strengthens transparency. It supports our agricultural heritage and ensures that Tennessee maintains control over its food marketplace while federal standards continue to develop, and we can see if this food is truly dangerous to public health. Mr. Chairman, this bill would put a ban on cell culture food in Tennessee, and there are 9 states who have already banned cell culture food, and 1 country, Italy. So if you'd like to know the states, I have that, but I do have a witness here to testify who's very qualified.
Sure. Thank you, Representative Lynn. And before we go to the witness, we're going to come back to Representative Lynn after the witness, but does someone have a question for her at this point? Okay, without that, we will go out of session and we will ask Ms. Sibley to come. And if you'll take a seat right there, we're going to give you 3 minutes and only 3 minutes. And then if someone has a question, perhaps you can answer that question. And if you would just take the mic, we'll turn it on for you. And if you'll just identify yourself, you'll have your 3 minutes.
Thank you. My name is Dr. Denise Sibley. I'm an internal medicine physician for 37 years in Johnson City, Tennessee. I speak in support of this bill, and I represent myself. Meat and fish made in a lab are often referred to as cultivated cultures or lab meat. These cell-based meats are used for our cells harvested from chicken, fish, beef, and they are harvested in a culture grown in large vats in a manufacturing environment, much like the pharmaceutical industry. The claim that no animals are killed in the process is also false. At present, most cultured or cell-based meats are created by growing animal cells in a solution of fetal bovine serum, which is made from the blood of unborn calves. The culture medium that supports the growth process contains many substances and chemicals. Some ingredients that support this synthetic biology are regulated as non-detectable manufacturing aids. Many are proprietary. An Israeli startup company called Profuse Technology, for instance, has developed a growth media supplement that massively encourages growth. And as reported in a September 2023 article titled Cultivated Meat Breakthrough, this media supplement achieved full muscle maturation on a scaffold within 48 hours. The supplement reduced the time to grow a fillet or a steak by 80%. So this augmented the protein in the final product by a factor of 5. However, the Food and Agriculture Organization of the UN and an WHO expert panel in 2023 concluded that there are at least 53 potential health hazards associated with lab-grown meats, including the possibility of contamination with metals, microplastics, nanoplastics, chemicals, allergens, prions, and other toxicants. Another particularly concerning and unanswered question surrounding the safety of artificial meat involves where the cells come from to grow these cultures. To start the cell culture growth, an immortalized cell, that is either a precancerous or a fully cancerous cell or an embryonic stem cell or a cell from a living tissue, has to be used. The reason they use immortalized cells is that normally reproducing cells cannot divide forever. Most cells only multiply a few dozen times before they become old and die. So attempts to grow this artificial meat from a small number of cells demands that they have some sort of cell that replicates indefinitely. So artificial meat cultured in this way could be thought of as a tumor or a cancer. And the flesh is entirely composed of these cells. Is it safe to eat a tumor? We don't know. There are no long-term studies or
Ms.
even
Sibley,
short-term
Your
studies.
3 minutes
Thank you.
is up.
Thank
I'll
you
give
so
you
much.
10 seconds to wrap up if there's one concluding sentence you want to make.
The environmental superiority is implied, but the 2019 Oxford study showed that the production in very energy-intensive bioreactors have a worse long-term environmental consequence than livestock farming as far as
Okay.
CO2 emissions. I would say that this is a science experiment that we don't need to do in Tennessee. Please protect our citizens. Artificial meat's not safer, not less expensive, not more favorable for the environment, not protective of our valuable agricultural community, and it's not natural.
Thank you. Do we have a question? Representative Fritz. For our,
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for your testimony, Dr. Sibley. I just refreshed myself on what a synthetic material is because the sponsor had mentioned that word, and I'd like your thoughts on this. It says synthetic materials or substances are created artificially through human-made chemical processes rather than occurring naturally. So what are your thoughts on the lab-grown meat? Is it a synthetic process?
Ms. Sibley.
Thank you. Thank you, Representative Fritz and Chairman. Yes, it's synthetic from the get-go. And that's what worries me about the health of Tennesseans. I've been before this committee before on multiple issues. I feel personal burden for the health of Tennesseans. And to me, this is a very dangerous synthetic chemical product that we have good agriculture in this state.
Representative Fritz.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just one more question. Also, in some of the things I looked up, it went back to the early patents on lab-grown or cell-grown meat or Franken meat, as we call it in Rome County. We understand how our bodies metabolize fruits and vegetables in the food pyramid and beef and pork and chicken? Do we understand from medical technology how our bodies are going to metabolize these synthetic substances if we start to ingest them?
Ms. Sibley.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for that question. We have no idea because they're proprietary synthetic means by each company. So we don't know the products that they put together, the scaffolding. This is edible scaffold. So you make a scaffold like a strut, and then you apply your immortal cells to it to make it start to look like a filet mignon if you want to. And we do not know how each company's proprietary blend of chemicals and 3D printing of meat or what cells they used, how that's going to be metabolized. There is no information.
Representative Fritz.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I apologize. One follow-up. You mentioned 3D printing. It caught my attention. So I'm familiar with 3D printing metals and polymers. How would this work, do you know, in 3D printing these meat-like substances to be able to produce the filet or the ribeye or the chicken wing that you're talking about?
Ms. Sibley.
Thank you. I am not very good at technology. I know that you can make toys with 3D printing because my grandchildren play with some at a little shop, but I have no idea how it's accomplished. I'll just be honest with you. I don't know.
Any other questions for our guest? All right. Thank you, Ms. Sibley. With that, we will go back into session. And Representative Lynn, do you have any further comments that you'd like to make?
Well, I would like the committee to please support a ban on the cell cultured meat. The way I think of it, this is just another crazy globalist idea that wants to put our farmers out of business, wants to say, no more farming because it's polluting the environment or whatever. We have to do what's best for Tennesseans. We have to stick with healthy, natural products so that Tennesseans' health is protected. As I said, 9 other states have already banned this. The country of Italy has banned this. The Campbell's food executive really let the cat out of the bag a couple of months ago. I had asked you if you had seen that. He made a flippant remark that Campbell's soup, he would never eat it because the meat is, golly, I'm forgetting the term. Yeah, synthetic meat. And then he said, it's meat for poor people. That was unbelievable. And you just know what the idea is, right? They'll be making all this meat, hiding it in foods. You'll buy meatballs, frozen meatballs at the store, or some frozen food at the store or whatever. Maybe they'll even make it look like fillets, but it's not healthy. It's not natural food. And, they just consider it meat for poor people. And that's pretty insulting.
Representative Jones, you're recognized.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. And to my friend, Representative Lynn, I have the same concerns. I think that was egregious. That's how they view our community. And I just want to read a statement that I was reading from the U.S. Cattlemen's Association, the main lobbying group for our American beef producers, who said that cell-cultured products cannot be independently produced. The technology is shrouded in intellectual property protection and requires intensive capital resources, which could lead to the monopolistic control of American sovereign food supply. And I think that's what really we have to talk about here. We have to look at they're trying to take away our food sovereignty as a nation, and we're allowing these corporations to take precedent over the lives of our people. I don't want to see the people of my district or your district or of our state used as guinea pigs for something that they think are for lesser than people. And I believe that we should support our American cattlemen. I see a lot of my friends here from the MAHA movement who've educated me on this, and we're in this together. I think this is a bipartisan issue. You saw the former Democratic Senator John Tester supporting this, as well as John Thune supporting this, getting this out of our schools. And I think this is something that we have bipartisan agreement on, Representative Lynn. So that's why I gave you a second. That's why you have my support for this. Thank you.
Okay. Representative Lynn?
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. I agree. You and I see this exactly the same way.
I'm going to go to Representative Fritz at this time.
Thank you again, Mr. Chairman. So knowing that some of this is coming, I've talked to lots of folks who have a few head of cattle and a few chickens and some that have many more head of cattle. And in each case, I hear from them that they think that these globalist companies are going to be able to produce this meat-like substance at pennies on the pound of what they can raise a cow or a chicken or pig. And so that's concerning for me. I do also share the food security, because food security is national security. And I think that we've endured for decades now the Bill Gates and the World Economic Forums telling us that cow flatulence is going to end the world. And I think this is part of that big plan. So I appreciate you bringing this, and I'm certainly going to support your bill.
Representative Lynn?
Thank you very much.
Representative Shaw?
Just one question for you, sponsor. Have you any stats, any information on how many people have been harmed or death that have been caused from these foods? I've noticed you've done a lot of research, so I just wondered if you looked beyond what problems it caused, but to see how many people maybe have died from eating it or been ill, what have you, if my question makes good sense to you.
Representative Lynn, you're recognized.
Thank you. Your question makes excellent sense. It really does. And you would think there would be long-term studies on something like this, but no, there's not. Now, there's lots of long-term studies on ultra-processed foods that we see already in our supermarket, but on this product, no, there's not. And there needs to be before people start eating it.
Okay. Chairman Grills.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and forgive me for this. I did not introduce him earlier, but Mr. Dale Parker, the Executive Vice President of the Tennessee Cattlemen's Association, is out here in the audience. listening to us talk about the important things in Tennessee today. Thank you for being here, Dale. Yeah. And thank you for raising all the beef that we get to eat regularly. I appreciate that. This is a very touchy subject, and I, for one, have no desire whatsoever to eat any cell-cultured protein. I have no desire whatsoever to even participate in any of that. But also, as a free market capitalist, I think it's very dangerous for government to start deciding who and what and when someone can participate in something. Like you said, the data is not there. We don't know the impacts. We don't know if it's good. We don't know if it's bad. We don't know anything about it. But I do know that last year I carried a piece of legislation and lots of support on this committee. And we passed it, and we put into this the law that requires no one can sell a piece of lab-grown protein and call it meat. We put some truth in labeling. We put some protection so our consumers know what they're buying, and that way that we know where we are. The Department of Agriculture is working with I believe the rules of the Rules Committee and trying to develop the rules now. I believe it'd be best for us to see how that process works. Let that work. And I'm not in favor of any lab-grown meat, but I am not for telling people that they cannot put something on the market that it may benefit someone besides myself. So with that, I move to move this bill to the final calendar, number 2.
Objection. All right, I'm going to recognize, first of all, Chairman Todd for a second.
I second that motion.
Okay, so it's been properly motioned and second, there's an objection. At this point, procedurally, we're going to do a voice vote to this. So if you're in favor of moving this,
Can we do a roll call vote so we can see the vote? Can we do a roll call vote?
no, it's action. So we're going to vote. If you're in favor of Representative Grill's motion to move this to the second calendar, say aye.
Aye.
If you're opposed, say nay.
No.
Okay, I think the ayes have it, and so it'll go to second calendar. All right. Next item on the agenda is House Bill 2070 by Chairman Todd. It's number 4 on our item. And Chairman Todd, you have a motion and a second. You may present your bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This bill creates the Tennessee Energy Freedom Act. It establishes that persons have the right to engage in and invest in companies involved in activities related to coal, oil, and natural gas. It prohibits covered government or private parties from bringing an action to impose any liability in connection with covered emissions from covered activities. And with that, I'll be glad to take any questions.
Okay. Are there any questions for Chairman Todd? Representative Fritz.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And could I be out of order just a minute to welcome the emerging school model for sail-away learning from Kingston, Tennessee? They've joined us today. They're bringing their students to learn about government, and they've chosen to come sit in our committee today. They're from Kingston. We've got a couple folks from Knoxville, but I appreciate them coming. Would ask y'all to welcome, and then I'll have a question.
That's out of order, just like Chairman Grills a moment ago, but we want to welcome you. We're glad that you're here. Chairman Fritz, you do have a question on the bill.
Thank you. Just a quick question. In the summary, Representative, I read the words retroactively and extraterritorially, and I have a pretty good vocabulary, and I understand retroactively, but I'm struggling with extraterritorially application of this. If I didn't miss that somewhere, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman?
I'm looking for that word, if that was something that was created in the description that I didn't have any control over. President Fritz.
Representative Fritz?
It is something that you didn't have control over it, Representative. It says under applicability under the legal summary, it says this bill provides that its provisions apply retroactively and extraterritorially.
Okay. Chairman.
And that would be applying to other states so that folks in other states cannot sue here in Tennessee, sue our producers, our companies for this type of thing. If they think these emissions are bad, using coal, like in our coal-fired plants, we don't want them suing a company in Tennessee that may have that, for example.
Representative Fritz.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I just want to get that on the record. I thought I understood what it meant, but we should probably get that out to everybody. You know, I'm a big coal guy, and I appreciate you carrying this. I'm probably the only member here that's got a lump of coal that big on my desk. So I'm very much in favor of what we're doing here. And the way I read the bill is that we're preventing those that might be activists against those sources of energy production from making up new standards, because several times in your bill, I see that we go back to what is existing federal law and Clean Air Acts and those kinds of things. So just making sure I understand that correctly.
Chairman Todd.
Yes, sir. That again, we're recognizing that people have the right to engage in and invest in companies that are involved in activities related to coal, oil, and natural gas. We want to prohibit a covered government or private party from bringing an action to impose any liability in connection with or covered emissions from covered activities. Those are defined in the bill, and that there can be no injunctive relief granted and no liability may be assigned for covered emissions resulting directly or indirectly from covered activities unless such covered activities are proven to be in violation of federal or state law.
Representative Fritz.
One more follow-up. Thank you. I appreciate that. So Kingston Steam Plant, I think TVA's made a good decision to keep Cumberland and Kingston open. Some of us have been pushing for that for a while. It's a bunch of jobs and it's extra kilowatt production. So due to mismanagement, more than a decade ago, we had the huge ash spill in Kingston, Tennessee. Fortunately, there was no loss of life in that, because if you saw the aerial photos, it was unbelievable, right? Would those people who were impacted by that ash spill be precluded from seeking injunctive action by the wording of this bill?
Chairman Todd.
They would not. They could fully exercise their rights under the law to claim any damages or any injuries whatsoever. That is certainly protected.
Representative Fritz.
One last thing. And so the bill takes us back to the Attorney General in many cases. And so in some cases, we have residents in Kingston and Knox County and surrounding areas that allege, I'll leave it at that, they make really good allegations, that some of the folks that were conducting the cleanup afterwards denied the workers the opportunity to wear respirators or PPE. And would anything in this bill prevent those people who, many of whom have now passed on, they say, as a result of exposure to the increased levels of arsenic and lead and other things that were in the ash? Because as you burn the coal, all those parts per billion things become increased. Would anything in this bill prevent those families from being able to seek redress of injuries, sicknesses, or death as a result? And would they have to go through the Attorney General, or would they be able to take that up with USTVA or the folks that manage those contracts? I know it's a big question. I apologize. It's
Chairman
a really
Todd.
sensitive thing in Kingston, Tennessee. I promise you.
Chairman Todd.
It would not. It covers the exploration, production, transportation, sale, manufacturing, refining, combustion, or other use of coal, oil, and natural gas in this state by person, and statements or emissions in this state relating to covered emissions. So that cleanup, the activities around that cleanup absolutely would not be covered under this. That's going to be under just current injunctive relief that we have now. And the covered emissions is the emission of carbon dioxide, methane, or nitrous oxide into the atmosphere, resulting directly or indirectly from the exploration, production, transportation, sale, manufacturing, refining, combustion, or other use of coal, oil, and natural gas. Pretty much the common sense, straightforward approach, not to get around liability or nuisance or any of those things. It is strictly though that these covered activities can take place without someone saying, we think your emissions are creating a global effect that is negative. So we're going to tie you up in court and put you out of business. That's the whole purpose.
And I just want to make a point of personal privilege here that Representative Fritz, I'm so sorry that Santa Claus brought you coal. And I've got a beautiful present from my wife on my desk. And I want to acknowledge that Representative Shaw told me he had another committee to go to, and acknowledge that Representative Alexander has joined us, if we could certainly do that. Are there any other questions for the sponsor? Okay. Seeing no further questions, we ready to vote? Clerk, would you open the vote? Has every member voted? Does anybody wish to change the vote? Clerk, please take the vote.
Mr. Chairman, you have 7 ayes, 1 nay.
House Bill 2070 moves to full committee. Okay, item number 5 on our agenda is HJR 869 by Representative Jones. Okay, we've had a motion and a second. Representative Jones, you may present your bill.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. This bill is about America First. We know that American farmers and ranchers raise the best meat in the world, and Americans should have a right to knowingly buy made in America products. Consumers have repeatedly and overwhelmingly expressed their support for country of origin labeling of products in the United States. In fact, country of origin labeling is supported by 89% of consumers, with 88% noting they would be willing to pay higher prices to buy and protect the U.S. beef farmer. And so we know that in 2008, the United States Congress overwhelmingly passed mandatory country of origin labeling for muscle cuts and ground meat sold at retail, requiring meat products from imported livestock or imported boxed meat to bear a different label from meat produced from livestock born, raised, and slaughtered in the United States. And in response to this, we saw trade groups and the organizations representing multinational meat packers worked predominantly with Canada as well as Mexico to bring a World Trade Organization case against the United States for removal of the country of origin labeling requirements. And in 2015, the United States Congress repealed the country of origin labeling law for beef and pork, reducing the competitive advantage of products born, raised, and slaughtered in the United States. And what we also know is that the United States has the highest food safety standards in the world, while other countries are place less emphasis on food safety. And something that was very concerning is that foreign commodities such as beef and pork are misleadingly labeled product of the United States if they're produced or packed in the United States. So you can have meat raised in China or in Argentina, and when it's sent here and packaged here, they put a label that says it was made in the United States. That's wrong. And so country of origin labeling gives producers and consumers the ability to distinguish true American products from foreign imported meat. And this is what this bill is doing. It's urging the U.S. Congress to reinstate country of origin labeling for all meat. And it's something that we've seen supported nationally by groups. We have the National Cattlemen's Association here. We know that they're supporting this nationally. You have the National Farmers Union, the Ranchers and Cattlemen's Action Legal Fund, Consumers Federation of America, the Farm and Ranch Freedom Alliance, and the National Farmers Organization, just to name a few. But there's a letter actually sent to Congress by dozens of organizations across this country asking them to do this. We know that Tennessee can often be better than Washington in listening to our constituents. And so we're going to use the power of our state government to show our support for mandatory country of origin labeling for meat. And with that, I am open for questions and ask for positive consideration of this resolution.
Thank you, Representative Jones. Chairman Todd.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move this as special calendar 2.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second without objection. Okay, we're going to vote at this time then. All in favor of moving this to second calendar 2, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. No. Okay, the ayes have it. It goes to second calendar 2. And with that, we have come to the end of our agenda for today. Is there anything else that announcement or recognition? All right, with that, we'll make, go ahead, Representative Jones.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to thank you, since you've taken the helm of this committee, for letting members of all walks of perspective speak. And I just find it very important that this is a very anti-American farmer day for 2 bills. And I hope that the people of Tennessee see what this committee is listening to corporate lobbyists and not to our American farmers and our small family farms. I think the people are going to see that come election time. So thank you.
Okay, with that, we have a motion to adjourn. Is there a second? Then we are adjourned.